From its origins in the military camps of Mughal armies, to becoming a symbol of Perso-Islamic high culture, and eventually the rallying point of Muslim nationalism, Urdu has had an eventful journey. Through incisive analysis of textual evidence, we will understand the interplay of historical forces that engendered Urdu, with so much socio-political meaning in the story of Pakistan's genesis. To start with, we need to understand the origins of Urdu as a language. Linguistically, Urdu developed out of the interaction between Turkic and Persian speakers in the armies of Muslim rulers in India and the local Hindi dialects they encountered. As historian Tariq Rahman explains, Urdu was a language which evolved due to the interaction of the Turk and Persian soldiers, as well as rulers with the local population. The name Urdu originates from the Turkish language, derived from the word ordu, which means army or camp. As Rahman notes, it was originally known as Zuban-e-Urdu, Mu'alla, which means exalted language of the camp, referring to the military origins of the tongue. This etymology clearly points to the genesis of Urdu among the Muslim imperial elite centered around military camps and courts. Turkic mercenaries and Persian aristocrats patronized this new tongue that started to emerge around Delhi in the 14th century. As Urdu took shape, it was seen as a language of polite sophistication and refinement, neatly separating the ruler from the ruled. Rahman emphasizes that it never became a colloquial language of the people. It was only used by the elite sections of the population and emerged as a literary language among elite settings. This fact highlights the exclusive high-culture aura that defined the earliest days of Urdu. The Persianized Urdu of courts and urban poets was distinct from everyday speech. It was a marker of Muslim power and identity in medieval India. The trajectory of Urdu changed considerably after the British colonized India in the 19th century. As colonial administrators, the British sought to reorganize the governance systems of India. A major change was the replacement of Persian with Urdu in 1837 as the language of government administration in North India. Unlike Arabic, but like Persian, there was nothing intrinsically holy about Urdu. It was part of the Islamic culture and Muslim identity in India because it was the language of the dominant elite. When this elite lost its political power in the wake of British colonialism, it consolidated its cultural power through the techniques and artifacts of modernity. Schools in North India started using Urdu as a medium of instruction. The printing press created and disseminated books in Urdu in larger numbers than could have been possible earlier. As Francis Robinson points out, the ulama used the new technology of the printing press to compensate for the loss of political power. While Persian had been the administrative language of the Mughals, it was limited to the elite. Urdu, with its extensive borrowings from Persian, Arabic, and Turkic languages, was still easier than Immaculate Persian, and it allowed the British to extend their reach deep into villages and towns. As Urdu got more official patronage, it started to be seen as the language of governance and power in North India. This ironically led to conflict with the growing Hindi movement. The Hindi-Urdu controversy started gaining momentum in the late 19th century as Indian leaders debated what should be the national language. Sir Syed Ahmed Khan, an ardent supporter of Urdu, claimed it was the language of gentry and of people of high social standing, whereas Hindi was to be the vulgar. For Sir Syed and other Muslim leaders, Urdu represented the rich Perso-Islamic legacy, and according to them, its decline would erode Muslim heritage and power. On the other side, proponents of Hindi saw Urdu as a foreign imposition, and promoting Hindi became a means to resist colonial rule. Gradually, the Hindi versus Urdu controversy morphed into a Hindu-Muslim conflict. Hindi contains the suppressed culture of the ruled, namely Hindus, along with remnants of Sanskrit and the Golden Age, which is a source of pride for Hindus. On the other side, Urdu was seen as the language of the once dominant Muslim elite. Muslim organizations like Anjuman Taraqi-e-Urdu were set up to preserve Urdu and project it as integral to Islamic identity in India. This politicization laid the seeds for Urdu to become a communal symbol. In the early 20th century, as independence from colonial rule approached, the Hindu-Muslim divide widened. Urdu came to be portrayed by Muslim leaders as the very basis of Muslim nationhood in India. Rahman points out how the Pakistan demand was fueled by framing Urdu as the distinguishing cultural marker. Advocates of the Pakistan movement sought to make Urdu a key argument in drawing distinctions with India's Hindu-majority population. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the leader of the Muslim League, described Urdu as the language of the Muslim nation. By championing Urdu as synonymous with Islam, the Muslim League turned it into a symbol of separateness, meant to justify the two-nation theory. Urdu gave cultural and linguistic heft to the political claim that Muslims could not live safely within a Hindu-majority post-colonial India. The demand for a nation where Urdu would be the national language gained traction among India's Muslims. In Rahman's words, Urdu tended to be the language of the urban population among the community, which also was the support base of the League. The adoption of Urdu in the Perso-Arabic script as their language of heritage allowed Indian Muslims to imagine themselves as distinct from Hindus. Thus, the political cause of Urdu became a core issue at the heart of the two-nation theory, which advocated that Muslims and Hindus were irreconcilably separate nations. The Muslims of the northern, western, and Deccan started considering Urdu as an inseparable part of their identity. There were serious attempts among Muslim groups to adopt Urdu in order to portray their political identity and mark their transition from the Nagari to the Nastaliq script. Usage of script generally signified the user's faith. Muslims generally used the latter script, while Hindus used the former. Within the ambit of the Urdu movement, linguistic purism was also at work. In order to distinguish itself from Hindi, which was becoming a Sanskritized Kariboli, concerted attempts were made to purge it of Sanskrit and indigenous origin words, and fill it with Persian and Arabic vocabulary. Thus, Urdu started to become a language distant from rural, uneducated, and poor individuals. It came to be the language of high culture, with complicated and ornate vocabulary, denoting the identity and prestige of the ashraf, the elite sections of the Muslims. The 20th century saw the rise of modern literature in Urdu. Since the language was established as an identity marker of Muslims, the reformist movements among Muslims began influencing the literature. This simultaneously came out to be an opportunity to make the language uniform. The regional varieties of Urdu, namely Rekhta, Awadhi, Dakkani, etc., were being subsumed under a common, monolithic, and standard Urdu. Urdu has begun to be identified as the language of Muslims and Islam in North India and Pakistan, and by extension, in the entire Indian subcontinent. This identification has led to a manifestation of allegiance to the faith through allegiance to the Urdu language. Thus, ulamas have historically emphasized, and continue to emphasize, the use of Urdu by Muslims in North India. A well-read or religious Muslim is expected to have a command of Urdu, as it is seen as a language representing the autonomy of the minority in a Hindu-majority country, as well as an indicator of Islamic identity. Apart from states like Kerala, Assam, and northeastern states, which show almost 0% of Urdu speakers, there is a fairly corresponding ratio of Urdu speakers and Muslims. In most of the places, especially North and Deccan, Urdu is a second language of Muslims, which is representative of the identity, rather than the lingua franca, which is the local language in almost all regions. Within the community, Urdu is used as a medium to communicate and disseminate information, where those who know the language assume a superior position, ashraf, than those who do not, ajlaf. The evolution of Urdu exhibits how it has a peculiar status as a language, and debates during the colonial era defined its identity. We have seen through textual evidence how Urdu evolved from its military origins into a language intertwined with Muslim identity and nationhood in the Indian subcontinent. This complex socio-linguistic journey is manifested in the two-nation theory. For Jinnah and the Muslim League, Urdu formed the cultural basis for the demand for Pakistan. After the creation of Pakistan, and Urdu became the national language there, it remained in India as a language of the Muslim community and Islamic culture, poetry, and the legacy of the savants. Thus, largely among the Muslims of northern and Deccan parts of India, Urdu denotes an identity marker for the community, as an attempt to define and differentiate themselves from the rest. On the other hand, within the community, there runs a hegemonic discourse that focuses on the usage of pure and standard Urdu, discarding the other sociolex, which is highly Persianized and accompanied by the Nastaliq script, depicting the glorious legacy of the once dominant community. Let me know your thoughts and feedback in the comments below. Hit like if you found this video informative and subscribe to the channel for more informative videos like this.